Okay, Nick, now let's get to actual Saints talk because you do run New Orleans top football, which there are LSU elements to it. So I don't want to make it seem like that. Like it is all Louisiana sports, the Pelicans, all kind of coverage. But it is the best source for black and gold news. Luke Johnson, though, in the Times pick today has some crazy numbers where the New Orleans Saints right now, they are plus 7.2 in average scoring margin. That is seventh in the NFL. They are minus 58.8 in average yardage margin. That is 25th in the NFL. Since 1940, like they've been tracking this stuff, the Saints are the only team in the NFL to have both a plus 36 scoring margin and a negative 294 yardage margin. Like a 93 Bears team, I think, comes close. How do you explain that disparity and yet still sitting here at 3-2?
Well, I think it probably all comes back to the Carolina game where they kind of had like one of the weirdest offensive games that you can remember. All the, they're missing a ton of coaches. Would they have like 80 yards passing that game? I mean, it was, I think when you get into a small sample, when you have a game that's that weird where you have 128 yards of offense and you're talking about a 5-game sample, I mean, that's going to lower it down quite a bit. I mean, if you got 400 yards, you got, 80 more yards each game on average. So, I think that probably plays a part in it. But look, I mean, I think the offense as a whole has been a little bit, I don't know. I don't want to use the word anemic, but maybe so. They haven't necessarily pushed for yards. It's been more about controlling the clock, keeping defenses off the field, that run-first approach. And that's kind of been the way they've played in 4 out of 5 games. And they aren't looking for big passing plays, just, kind of situationally when they need them. So I just think the approach for that has been the reason for it. And, it just goes back to having bad wide receivers. And, I think they need to go out and get somebody else. I don't know if you can move forward with what you got. Mike Thomas is probably going to miss a couple more games. And at some point, something has to give. I mean, you look at the way that they're playing offense, and I just posted an article on my site yesterday. If you take Jameis's throw chart, there's like a triangle of whiteness just right in the middle of the field where there just aren't passes going. And you look at Mike Thomas's throw chart, and that area is filled in. You throw Tre'Quan Smith in there, some of it's filled in. But, I mean, there's just an area of the field that they just simply aren't attacking. And it's because guys aren't getting open. And Jameis has completed 4 slants in 5 games. It's just how does that even happen? How do you just have 4 slants in 5 games? Nobody's getting open on those routes. He tried 2 of them in the last game. They both got dropped. So there's just a lot of offense that they aren't able to get. And, look, I think part of that's a credit to him. Like, he's not attacking the middle of the field to guys that can't get open, because when you make a mistake in the middle of the field or a guy doesn't make a play, the ball bounces off him, it gets picked off. That's where your interceptions happen. So I think he's done a good job of not going there or forcing things there. But they're missing a lot of elements, and they got to find a way to get that. And I don't know how long you can hide behind the approach that they've taken. And, those numbers, they'd get better over time. But if they keep playing like they're playing, they're going to be at the bottom of the league in offense. And I don't know how far you can go being bottom of the league in yards per game.
And Nick, I know you've got a piece up about this right now. You mentioned Mike Thomas potentially coming back in a couple of weeks. Tre'Quan Smith is still on the IR. Does he give you anything? Is it any type of upgrade when he comes back, or do you still think that it's going to be kind of the same when he does return?
I think he's definitely an upgrade over everybody that they have. I mean, he'd be the best player on this team right now. I'm not sure, what that really says in the grand scheme of things. I think he has a lot to prove. I think we're still learning about him. I don't know that we know what he is in this offense. I think there were elements of his game that didn't get quite shown off in the Breeze offense just because of the way they had to play. But he at least gives you some of those elements where he can get open quickly over the middle. He can catch a crossing route in traffic and take a hit and hold on to the ball. And I think there's a level of trust with the stuff that he can do that's a little bit higher than the other guys. But, like, if he's the only one and say there's no Mike Thomas and I think you still don't have enough at that position. And, that's why I said I think they need to do something else. They got to try to make a trade. I don't know what you can do with their cap situation. There isn't a lot of room. You'd probably have to trade for somebody on a rookie contract that isn't in favor with their team anymore, like a James Washington or a Denzel Mims or somebody like that. But I think you got to keep trying. And I just don't know that they have enough at this point. And eventually you get Mike back and Tre'Quan back, and that might be good enough. But, one more guy I think would give you just that little bit of layer of insurance for, just to be fair, I mean, look, Tre'Quan Smith hasn't been able to stay healthy his whole career, and you're banking a lot on a guy that just hasn't given you many games every season. So if something happens to him and he goes out at some point and you're down to Mike Thomas and everybody else, you could survive like that, but I don't think you can thrive. And I don't know if you get the difference maker that helps you thrive, but you can get somebody that's better than Chris Hogan or Kenny Stills from somewhere else. And so I just think they got to keep their eyes open going forward. So it gets a little better with Tre'Quan. I just don't think with him singularly it gets you to where you need to be.
Talking Nick Underhill, New Orleans Football as a site. Go sign up today. Real quick, I'm gonna ask you about a few guys and kind of what their timetables are at. What's the timetable on Mike Thomas' return right now?
So it sounds like he's going to be out for a couple more weeks. I don't think it's a situation where there was a setback or anything. I think it's just he needs to get to where he needs to be, to where he feels good about it. So I think he needs to take a little more time. There's going to be a little bit of a ramp-up period. And honestly, I mean, it makes some sense. We were all looking before at the end of the PUP 6 weeks, and Mike will be back. I mean, look, the guy hasn't practiced since January, so it was probably a little short-sighted by a lot of us, myself included, to kind of assume that he'd hit this point and be good to go. I think he needs to get his legs back under him, get used to playing, be smart about it, be safe, and make sure once he comes back, he's good to go.
And then what about Will Lutz?
So he came off IR yesterday. A week ago, I heard that he needed a little more time. Coming back to practice, I think, helps. I guess you get him going. They did trade for, I can't remember his name, the guy on the
Brian Johnson?
There you go, Brian Johnson.
The most fake generic name ever?
So, yeah, they got him as insurance, so maybe they let Lutz kind of get back into the swing of things, but he's on the horizon. They got 21 days to bring him back. They wouldn't have put him on here if it was going to be longer than 21 days. But I think maybe one more week at most, and then you're in that area where it seems very possible that he'll be back kicking for them. That's huge. I mean, they need him more than just about everybody this side of Mike Thomas. Yeah,
I mean, I think you nailed it with that take. Right behind Mike Thomas is Will Lutz. Okay, last couple then. Quan and Marcus Davenport.
So it seems like Quan's probably somewhat close. I've heard positive things about him. The Davenport one, I haven't gotten a lot of information on him at this point, so I'd be totally guessing. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of negativity around him. It seems like there's positivity around Tron Armstead's situation, too, so maybe that ends sooner than later. I think Eric McCoy needs a little more time. So, everyone's going to be back at some point. It's just, you just got to keep waiting. And it kind of felt like this was the first point, after the bye, guys will start coming back. I don't know that there's going to be this, huge influx of talent all at once. It's going to probably be a little bit more spread out, and they start getting guys back. But at some point, everyone's going to be back, and this team that should be 4-1 is going to have 10 starters back, and they should be good to roll down the stretch if everybody acclimates and there are no major issues bringing anybody back.
Excited for next Monday, Nick. We'll be previewing, I guess it'll be Tuesday. We'll be fresh off the heels of a Monday Night Football game. Nick Underhill, New Orleans Football. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Again, y'all go sign up for New Orleans Football.